I woke up, soaked from a bad dream. I've been sweating like crazy. Got up, skin stuck to the bed sheets. Open window for a cold breeze. I have nothing to eat in my kitchen. Old coffee and yesterday's pizza. Listen, I promised to clean my floor, but I have no interest to fulfill my chores today. As long as the sun is shining and the weather is showing its face, just like me, it's been hiding. People painting the world with its rays. So I skip on my obligations, like so many times before. Reach for the door out to reclaim my faith in the making. God, I am here for the taking. Oh, it's a matter of opinion if I'm right, but I'm leaving off for now to go outside, putting chores and obligations on our pile. See them towering over me, know it too high.
I had it with this shit, yo, I gave it all I got, but it seems like it's not enough. Now I'm sitting there watching all these bills piling up like, damn, I need a change for the better. Scratch that, I need a change for the cheddar. Gotta get up, 9 to 5, have a regular life. With the knowledge knowing that I'm not a regular guy. See, I'll be more than me's a regular. I like up the Miss Rhyme with my spectacular mind, composing these delicate rhymes. But I'ma design a different future for me. I had a good run with it, but it just ain't what it used to be. And truthfully, I trust nobody in this industry. They only come around when they want something like a fucking leash. But I'm cool, mama didn't raise no fool, so I'ma do what I do and chunk up the dues. And I'll be back in the booth when the stars align. But meanwhile,
it's a matter of opinion if I'm right, but I'm leaving off for now to go outside, putting chores and obligations on our pile. See them towering over me, know it too high. It's a matter of opinion if I'm right, but I'm leaving off for now to go outside, putting chores and obligations on our pile. See them towering over me, know it too high. It's a matter of opinion if I'm right, but I'm leaving off for now to go outside, putting chores and obligations on our pile. See them towering over me, know it too high.
Hey, what's going on? Facebook, YouTube, wherever you're tuning in from. This is Matter of Opinion. I'm your boy Walls P,
It's your boy Ray the Dawn.
and we got two guests. Everybody know in the comment section, she be going in and everything like that.
The famous Miss Tia.
Yep.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah. And then we got, Mr. Talk Edit, aka Deontay. Oh, you want to introduce yourself to everybody?
What's good, y'all? If y'all don't know me, I'm from YouTube. Always talking politics. Critical race theory has been a big discussion lately, so I came on to share my opinion on that.
Yep. So yeah, there's definitely gonna be an interesting show for you guys because it's gonna be deep conversation because critical race theory now they're looking to teach it in schools and it's all over the place. So that's gonna be basically the topic of the show that we'll be discussing. All right. So, and definitely be on the lookout for a collaboration video that we did on Talk Edit's channel about the Baltimore school. It was a debate featuring me for featuring Talk Edit himself, me, Tia, and Jr. Who he's working on his own YouTube channel where a video will be posted soon called Love. What is it? Love.
I
Uh,
think Love and
Best love
Fitness.
and
Love and Fitness.
best love and fitness.
Yeah.
Yeah, best love and fitness. So definitely check that out. All right. So let's get down to the nitty gritty. So to start things off, I'll ask, what is your views on the critical race theory, and which one of y'all would like to go first?
Go ahead, Beyonce.
So critical race theory is actually more important now than it was when it became a hot topic, because now it seems like people want to forget about race, and it's quite ridiculous. The same people who are saying let's not teach critical race theory and making a big deal about critical race theory were the same people saying let's keep up the Confederate flags and it's our history and we need to know about it, even if we don't like it. Same thing, we need to know about what's going on, what critical race theory actually is, whether you like it or not. Because all critical race theory is just looking at American history from a different perspective, looking at American history from a perspective that people don't want to look at it from, because it doesn't show America in the best light. It teaches about racism and how impactful racism really was. People today, they like slavery was a long time ago. Slavery doesn't matter. It's in the past, but they don't really want to look at what slavery did and how it impacts the present. And that's what critical race theory does. It helps you look at how it impacts the present.
All right. Who want to go next? You want to go, Ray, or you, Tia?
I'll let Miss Tia take it.
All right.
I I understand where you're coming from, Deontay. I do agree with you to an extent, but I just wanted to point out the misconception that everyone who wanted who was in favor of the Confederate flag or even the Confederate symbols to remain up, weren't all in support of it or weren't all against critical race theory. It literally was something that was studied in graduate programs, legal studies. So I hear what you're saying, but personally, I don't think it should be put into the K through 12 system. And the reason why I say that is, and I guess we'll get into that a little bit later, but the premise of it is good, but I don't understand how you can say that, we don't talk about race or, we want to keep it hush hush when pretty much it's in everything that we do. Anytime that you turn around, anything, any law, social media, whatever you could think of, race has always been a discussion, even prior to Trump being in office. So I don't agree that nobody talks about race and that it's hush hush. I feel as though right now we talk about it way more. But that's just my opinion, and then we'll get into that a little bit more.
Okay. What's your take on it, Ray? The Dawn?
So I'm on the fence with it because I would say half of me agrees with some of the things coming out of critical race theory, especially when it comes to the different. If you prime example, right? Um, a theory that comes to critical race theory is the differentiation of prices in black communities for homes compared to white communities. You know what I'm saying? Like a
Yeah.
black community would be like 25% less than a white community simply because it's black. You know what I'm saying? That's what their the theory that they put out there from critical race theory, and I could see where that comes from, and I could partly agree with it. At the same time, I have to disagree with it because it's a matter of the how we keep the neighborhood. Like if you go to a white neighborhood, they keep it clean, they keep it well constructed. You go to a black neighborhood, sometimes people's lawns is really crazy. And y'all know what I'm talking about, that 16 feet of grass that just been there.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So,
Get that.
we can't full heartedly agree with it. Now, do I believe it should be taught um, in the grade system? Yes, I believe it should be taught in the grade system. And I wouldn't say K through 12. I'd say 9 through 12.
Okay.
I'd say 9 through 12 at a level at which our kids can understand it. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like teaching it too young, it's gonna go in and out.
All right. See me, I believe some of the principles of critical race theory, but at the same time, it can cause confusion amongst everybody else. Why is that? Because let's just say you have a scenario where you have a white person and a black person walk into a store.
Mhm.
If the clerk, goes to help the white person first, it could be viewed as that's racist because he's looking at the black person as you're not really going to buy or anything like that. You're just here to window shop. But if you turn around and go to the black person first, it could be viewed as, oh, he's trying to steal. So let me, get close to him, so to speak. So you see what I'm saying? So in a sense, it can also cause a divide when
Mhm.
the principle is that everything had like is race driven. Now,
Mhm.
don't get me wrong. I do understand that there are a lot of things that are race driven, but every single thing that I don't agree with. So yeah, critical race theory, like I said, I believe it. I believe it. I believe the principles of it, whatever. But there's a lot of things where I highly disagree with it.
All right. Well, I have. Pray the time. Turn your
Nah, that's a
My bad. That wasn't for me though.
no.
I have two things about what Ray said. The study that about the houses and the home,
Mhm.
it actually controlled for neighborhoods and other factors, and it still showed that black homes were devalued by 23%.
Hmm.
And as far as critical race theory, uh, what critical race theory wouldn't say is that it's devalued by 23%. That means that racism happened. What critical race theory would have you do is look at is devalued by 23% and look to see if there are any historical factors or factors that led to that. Like for example, what happened with redlining, you would look to see if redlining has an effect on those 23%, on that 23%, rather than just make the assumption that that 23% was absolutely has something to do with race. So you're critically thinking about what laws and what things happened that caused that causes the discrepancies.
Yeah, and that's I will agree. I'll agree with you on that too because when you look at a lot of these houses that were devalued when they broke stories on them, these were houses that were bought in very high like well established communities, whatever. Like you had this one family who bought a home for I think like maybe 800,000 or $900,000 or whatever, and then they put about two to three, no, I think $200,000 worth of remodeling in it to upraise it. And once they got, once they got somebody to do an estimate on the value of the house, it came back with only like $100,000 worth of more value. After that process, like after they figured like it was racially driven, they went and told a white family, well, of their white friend to go into the house and see about pretending they lived there, and they like the house value went up. I want to say almost double the value. And the person that runs like who runs like the real estate or like housing whatever, they say this type of stuff happen all the time regardless of like, and what they're trying to say is that it's like analytics or something like that in the system. So what does that tell you analytically? If you come up as black, your home is automatically devalued. You get what I'm saying? So I get the part where you say, hey, it could be, in a impoverished area, so the house is going to be devalued, but that also plays a role in houses that are in upscale places where, it's not an impoverished area. So that's a yeah, that for something like that, I can see where critical race theory definitely has its value and plays a role in that. What
But
is
it
your
says,
thing?
But is that something that you feel should be taught in K through 12? Or should that be some, or like Ray had mentioned, something that should be at least taught in, high schools or
I
even
feel
in.
I
So
feel it should, I feel it should be taught in high schools. The reason why is because when you hit high school, that's when it kind of gets you ready for the next step in life. You get what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
if you graduate whatever, and let's just say you want to go into real estate and stuff like that, if this is something that you never had the knowledge of or never taught about, then you will accept that that undervalue of a home or something that you're trying to sell because you have no knowledge of it. You get what I'm saying? It's just like
Mhm.
if if you're going to school and all you think the way to go into school is to get financial aid or whatever, and you never heard about grants and there was never taught about grants or anything like that, you're going to think, hey, by the time you come out of school, you automatically going to have debt. So if you don't have the knowledge of these things being taught to you, then you succumb to taking a lot of losses.
Hmm.
can I say something? The thing about critical race theory being taught in schools, there was never a push for critical race theory to be taught in schools. What critical race theory is an advanced learning. It's something like sociology. That's like saying they're teaching sociology in K through 12. It's
Hmm.
not. The thing is, anytime somebody, a teacher or something says, uh, equity, teaching about equity, that's all of a sudden critical race theory. When they talk about white privilege, and white privilege actually came out before the concept of white privilege actually outdates critical race theory. But anytime you say anything about race, equity, or anything, they automatically put that into the bubble of critical race theory.
Not
But critical race
necessarily.
theory is actually too advanced to be taught in K through 12.
I definitely agree with you. And actually, there is something called multicultural education. Some people may even call it culturally responsive teaching. And it does incorporate other ethnicities, other cultures. So it's not just your, traditional, like let's say Catholic holidays. So you're not just learning about when, Columbus Day, if anyone still celebrates that, or Christmas or anything like that. They're also having months where it's Hispanic Heritage Month, it's Black History Month, like incorporating more. So instead of just bringing up race when it comes to oppression, we can also bring it up in terms of celebrating our history, because that can also help our students in terms of, and our kids in identifying with their culture and knowing who they are. And it's sad because a lot of us don't know our culture. They think that it started, okay, as soon as you were here. And it's like, no, you trace your roots. You may go back to Haiti or maybe Jamaica, or maybe it could be anywhere, but we don't talk about those things. So the other thing that I have an issue with is the fact that a lot of these teachers, I'm sorry, they're ill equipped to teach the subject. So, for example, you could go on David Harris Jr.'s Instagram, and yes, he is a conservative, and he has a gentleman that's on there. It's a little clip from, I think it's like a parent teacher meeting or something like that, and they're addressing the board in terms of talking about critical race theory, and you have teachers that are blatantly telling students, if you're of color, you're oppressed. And one young lady went to her teacher, which the father had an issue with, and she said, well, wait a minute, my mother's white. So what does that mean? And she said, oh, well, that means half of you is oppressed and you can't do certain things. So when you say stuff like that, it's like, well, wait a minute, how is that child supposed to digest that? So it's not even just so much the content, it's also the people who are, like I said, ill equipped to teach these subjects. Because let's just be honest, if you keep feeding someone negativity, they're going to adapt that. Now, you may have some who rise above it and say, you know what, this isn't me. I'm going to go beyond that stereotype. I'm not going to be a statistic. But if someone keeps beating you down the head and keeps telling you how you're oppressed, oh, your people are doing this, they're not doing that, what are you going to start to think? How are you going to start to act?
Right.
I can agree with that.
Hmm.
See, the only thing I have with that is like the teaching of the critical race theory is, I don't know. People already look for excuses of their being held back because of their color and everything like that. So, do you guys feel like that might just exacerbate the situation among black people or whatever?
I gotta say it's a possibility, but at the same time, I gotta say it depends on the mindset of the individual
Okay.
and how they understand critical race theory. Like Tia said, if a professional person who knows what they're talking about teaches the subject, then whoever is getting that information, whether it be a kid from the ninth grade or higher, I'm pretty sure they'd be able to grasp it if it's taught correctly.
Right. And
I get. Yeah, well, no, go ahead.
just my bad. Just to piggyback off of that, Tia, and you all are absolutely correct. Every African American studies teacher or black leader that I know, they I wouldn't hear them saying that if you're black you're oppressed. They add power to blackness every time. Like my African American studies teacher in college, we had to do a project and she got so upset when the people did their project on African American history and they only stuck with slavery and only stuck with the civil rights and how they treated us like animals and how they treated us like dogs. She got so upset with that because we had a rich history and they didn't go over anything except how they treated us. So, and that's the same way about anybody else that I know, black leader, just the black leaders that I've run into, they will be upset if you don't teach or if you're talking about critical race theory and you're not talking about it as if black people, like how I did my video and I
Mhm.
talked about interest conversion and I went into how black people played a role in getting the laws changed even though we didn't have any political power. How not only did we march but how we uh they were freeing the slaves. Harriet Tubman freed the slaves and caused the conflict, which made Abraham Lincoln end up signing the Emancipation. You have to tell how black people played a part in all of the positivity that happened within the American culture.
Oh yeah, definitely. But the problem we're running into is it's like a lot of people, a lot of I'm gonna say like a lot of white people, whatever they feel when you bring up the word white privilege or critical race theory, whatever, they view it as a negative and like want to bottle it up and not speak about it because that brings up their ancestors' wickedness or their wicked ways or whatever. So it's like they want to bury it. Now, with that being said, like I don't know, I just feel as though it can cause like it can cause because I already see it now where it's like everything that goes down is deemed as racist or race related. So do you guys feel that it might get to a point where it's like crying wolf with the race word, like using the race card? Because nowadays there's a lot of situations that I see go down, whatever, and it's not race related. Or like, for instance, if a cop pulls somebody over, oh, you're just pulling me over because I'm black or whatever. You get what I'm saying? Or whatever the case may be.
I,
And a lot of times, it's situations where when I look at it, I'm like, hey, it really wasn't race related. But when you look at the public outcry, they'll say, hey, it's race driven.
I mean, here's the thing about that. Like, when something happens, you can't really always prove that racism happened. So in individual acts, you can't say that that was definitely racist or that was definitely racist. But when you look at the statistics as a whole, like when they started the stop and frisks, you
Mm-hmm.
can't say that this black person was stopped because he was black. That black person was stopped because he was black. But when you look at that they were stopping black people more often and more often the black people didn't have any drugs, you can't look at that and ignore that there was a race problem somewhere in that, even though you can't say any individual uh, stop and frisk was racist. You know that racism has something to do with it when you look at it.
No, no, I get that 100%. Like I'm not denying that fact. What I'm saying is with the critical race theory, does is that going to enable people to have the license to say pretty much everything is race related? Like the example I gave, if you have two people going into a store, the person in the store in their mind have no like is not thinking of anything related. So regardless, whatever direction they go, they view it as I'm gonna lose here. You get what I'm saying? So that would make that person just say, you know what? Since I'm gonna be viewed in a negative way, no matter which way I go, guess what? I'm staying neutral. I'm not doing nothing because that's gonna paint me as a racist, whatever direction that I go. And this is why I'm saying with the critical race theory, how it's saying that everything is race driven. I gotta disagree with that because not everything is race driven.
I
Statistically, yes, there is situations that are race related. When you go by statistics, like black folks get more of a sentencing than the white counterpart. I understand these things, but what I'm saying is like once it becomes like I don't know, advanced class or curriculum, so to speak, that can also set up that narrative too. That's just my opinion. What do you guys think?
I definitely understand where you're coming from. And I have to say it. I feel like you also have certain politicians where they use that to their advantage. I mean, if you have someone who is running for the highest office possible telling you, if you don't vote for me, you're not black, what message does that send? So it's almost as if they want to use race to not only oppress certain groups of people, but to also keep us at bay and also use it to their advantage. And I feel like a lot of people don't see that. So personally, no, I don't feel like critical race theory should be taught in K through 12. I feel as though there are other things that we need to be focused on. We have a broken public education system. And out of all the subjects, why are we just focusing on critical race theory? I feel like it's an agenda and it's a reason behind it, as opposed to, if you look at, and I can only speak for my state, but if you look at the statistics, we have black and brown males who aren't even graduating high school at the same rate as our counterparts, let alone what they're doing a year or 5 years from now. So, what are we doing to address that? And I know when I say this, a lot of people have so much to say, but I'm not saying all people, but I do feel like we need to encourage our youth to go to college. And the reason why I say that is because we can't keep talking about how, we're being mistreated in the healthcare system. We can't keep talking about how, oh, our students aren't being properly taught. We can't keep talking about these things if we don't put ourselves in a position to teach our kids the way that they need to be taught. Like other races are outpacing us, whether we want to accept that or realize it or say it or not. So I'm not saying everybody before they start to eat me up in the comments, because I understand we also need trades. We also need other fields. I get
So,
that.
so Tia, so here's my question to you.
Okay.
Do you feel that the whole conversation about race is what's making black individuals weigh themselves down because they're looking at it as no matter what I do, my skin color is what's going to prevent me from doing what XYZ because the system works against me pretty much. Is that like how you're looking at it, so to speak?
I am. And the reason why I say that is because of my profession. I hear it all the time. In higher education, we don't have as many black males who are in college.
Okay.
Mm.
And when I do talk to some of those males, a lot of things that they say to me, it does sound similar to what you just mentioned. And that's why I feel like we need to change the narrative. And we need to, like, I firmly believe that, you speak, whatever you say out loud, you speak into existence. So I would never walk around and just say, well, you know what, because of my skin color, I know I'm not going to get that far. What is that going to do for me? As opposed to speaking life over the situation and empowering. Like I have a black male that I'm raising. I want to speak life over him and give him the resources that I know that he needs to get to whatever the next level is. If he wants to be a police officer, a doctor, whatever it may be. So yes, to answer your question, I do believe that.
All right, so
I,
Deontay,
I,
what is your take on that? As far as like, do you see it as people can use that as a narrative to not like,
um
the form of holding them holding them
real
back?
real quick
I
before you
Oh,
speak,
all
Deontay,
right,
I just
go ahead.
wanted to address something. Okay, so Tia, you said that white your counterparts our counterparts are winning in the aspect of education, right?
I
So
said they're outpacing us.
they're outpacing us, but do you know why they're outpacing us? Let's
Well,
address
I
that. Let's
say it
address
again.
that. Let's address why they're outpacing us. Think about it. Think about it. The average black person or culture person or multicultural person has to work 2 to 3 jobs just to make ends meet. You know what I'm saying? compared to the counterparts who they work in a nice office job or they have a simple job, and they don't have to work as much. They get to spend more time with their kids.
Or born into wealth.
Exactly. You know what
Generational
I'm saying?
wealth was
Generational wealth
then.
developed and gained through what? Let's address that.
But
Through
you
years of uh, racial segregation, and through keeping certain financial information away from other cultures. Prime example, nobody, I guarantee there's 1,000 people watching this video right now that don't even know that they can start building your child's credit at the age of around the age of when they're in eighth grade. No, I bet there's 1,000 people right now.
but Ray, let me just say this to you though. Is it that the information isn't there or that they're not seeking the knowledge? Because the reason why that I asked that is because I hear what you're saying about, let's say, the person of color that has to work those multiple jobs, support their family, as opposed to their counterpart. Let's be honest. Maybe it's nepotism, maybe it's whatever. But at the same time, you kind of touched on my point that if we change our public education system, especially in these underrepresented communities, we can give our people a better advantage. So even if they're not, superseding their counterparts, at least we can, maybe be at the same pace as them and we won't be as behind. So as I just mentioned, when you have your black and brown males that aren't graduating at the same pace, I absolutely cannot expect them to be in that office job and coast. And absolutely, that'd be ignorant of me to say that. But that's why I'm saying we need to change our public school system so that way our students have better and our children have better outcomes.
But
Talk
but but you're still going back to my point, because you got to understand these black these minority parents are working so much they can't make it to these city hall meetings, to these town meetings, to all
OMG.
these events where they can fight for their kids' education because they're stuck working trying to make ends meet.
hold up, because it seemed like Deontay got something to say. So,
My bad, y'all.
No,
yeah,
I was actually checking my battery life, but
okay.
yeah, I actually did. When you said, "Is it that they're not searching for out the information?" The thing is, they don't know. They haven't been equipped to know how to search out the information. It's like if I told you to go give a book to my grandmother, you have to know how to find my grandmother. If I didn't give you any other information but go give the book to my grandmother, and I'm not telling you how to get that information, and you said it right after you said it. You have to change the education system. You have to let them know how to search out the information that they're gonna need. Um, but to go, you asking the question?
Nah, one thing I will say, I can kind of agree with that. On the sense of, I understand where you're coming from, Tia, where you say, hey, you got to look for the information and everything like that. But if a person doesn't have any knowledge about the said topic, then they're not going to look for the information for said topic.
But you're all approving my point when I said that we need to change the public
Right.
education system. And by just focusing on critical race theory and how, the laws are racist, they're rooted in slavery. Oh, the police, they weren't for us. They won't. By focusing just on that, we are missing the point. So it's like you're all
But
indirectly making my
But
point
but
that
and
here's
I
by,
also
but,
wanted to say something about that because a lot
okay.
of people, when they talk about critical race theory or just racism and the effects of racism, they use a universal statement. They act like if you believe in critical race theory, you believe that racism is the end all be all. Like critical race theory isn't teaching you that racism is the end all be all.
no,
Yes, race is a factor in, just about everything, but it's just a factor. It's not the whole thing. Yeah, the other factors do include that, black people aren't studying, or black people that we have blame to put on ourselves. Um, and I wanted to answer the first question that Wally asked about uh
race. Do you feel like that gives basically people are out to like
right.
feel like their race is holding back, period, or whatever?
Right, and I don't believe in the whole victimhood mentality, but I do know that when I was in school, when I went to black school specifically, they did always used to ask us or tell us at all of our prep meetings or whatever, or prep rallies, that's what you call them, is
Yeah.
look to the person on your left, look to the person on your right. One of y'all are gonna fail, or two of y'all are gonna fail, or whatever, and stuff like that to tell kids, teenagers, high schoolers, that's not something you want to tell them because it did make it seem like, okay, what one of us ain't gonna make it.
And you know
So
what? You make a really good point because even in higher education, they started telling people to stop saying that during freshman orientation because, like you said, it has a negative connotation behind it. And again, I just believe that if we change this public education, and oh, also to go to Ray's comment,
hold
I
on
hear what you're.
before you go
Mhm.
on. I just want to say y'all had some jacked up schools. The fact that they, you know,
Oh, every single one, every time.
yo, I've never heard that in any school that I went to. But
No. They even say it in Catholic high school sometimes too. You'd be
wow,
surprised. You would
wow.
be surprised, bro.
All right, go ahead, Tia. My bad.
I'm gonna
So
grab my
my
charger real quick.
Okay.
okay. So my point to Ray is, you mentioned, okay, people have to work, they can't attend these meetings, and I get that. But once we pivoted because of COVID, do you not realize that all of those meetings were virtual? So even if you couldn't attend those meetings, you could also look from your phone while you're working. You could put a headset in. I have wireless earbuds. You know how many times I'm sitting at work on a computer, I have my earbuds in, I'm listening to the mayor as he's giving his address, or I'm listening to the governor tell us what are the updates because of the pandemic. So I just feel as though what you're saying is just an excuse. And here's the other thing: once we pivoted from the pandemic, you don't understand how big that digital divide was. Now, if you have children, okay, if you have younger siblings, you've probably seen it firsthand. But that was a problem that so many people in those underrepresented communities didn't think to even ask these kids, hey, do you have Wi-Fi at home? Do you have a computer? Do you have a tablet? Why did it have to take the pandemic for students to have to now answer those questions? Like my son, he's in private school, so every year they give the students the Chromebook. Now if you're not every year, but like once you come in, they give you the Chromebook to have. So once we pivoted, he already had it. But why does it take me having to put my son in private school for him to have that option? Why didn't all students in the public school system have, especially in the inner city, already have that? There's a way that you could partner so kids can even have free broadband.
I
There's
can
like.
I can
Let,
agree.
let,
I can agree with you on that. And
I wanted to address the comment she said. Okay, so you said that these meetings were switched over to like live video and phone calls, right?
Mhm.
This is so. How was the information distributed to all the individuals? Because you had a lot, especially in minority public schools, where information was never given to the parents for these meetings.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You don't have to get it from the schools.
Not
Like find.
or a lot of or any public announcements given.
But
yeah,
So
here's the.
how can you expect these individuals to get on these calls and these meetings if they don't know about it?
Yeah, but Ray, I feel as though you're making it. How can I say this to be politically correct? You're making it seem as though they can't, like, they don't have Facebook. You make it seem like they can't look on the child's school's website. You make it seem like there are other ways that you could be proactive, even if you didn't have the knowledge while you were in high school, even if you didn't go to college. There's certain things where, okay, if I enroll my child into a school, no matter what school it is, I know that they have a website. Maybe they have Power School or whatever system they use. I know that they have parent teacher conferences, or heck, I already have my kids teacher's email, so I can email him at any given time. So those are things that you can do to be proactive, but to just sit back and say, well, I don't know how to get the information, I don't
all
have it,
right.
we pivoted, that's an
So
excuse.
let me ask you this.
Mhm.
Because, for instance, what do you say to people who are just enrolling their kid into school for the first time or whatever? Because when the pandemic hit, it was a process trying to enroll my daughter into school, and nobody knew nothing, nobody contact nothing, nobody. It took hammering and hammering and hammering and hammering to try and find somebody. And then when you did get in contact, nobody knew nothing. You're talking on the website, the whole nine, nobody knew nothing. It
I was
wasn't till
exactly about
it it wasn't until probably like a couple days before school start that's when getting in touch with them, and they still didn't have the information. It's like, oh, well, do you want to start, start the process of the, the child being in the school? It's like, no, how am I going to start this process when I've been trying to contact you guys for XYZ? How long? Nobody know nothing. Y'all don't send no updates. Y'all don't do nothing. Blah, blah, blah. Like, so I hear where you're coming from, but
So wait, you said this was at the start. This was during the pandemic.
when
During
the
the pandemic,
last year, when the
a lot of
pandemic, whatever,
schools,
a lot, yeah, go
a
ahead.
lot of minority schools, their websites
Absolutely,
weren't updated. So
absolutely. Because
there was no
Mhm.
way information, nothing.
So
And
I hear
even
what
if you reached out, like you know what I'm
you're,
saying. And this was a problem all across the country.
yeah. So
There was a poll done on
Yeah,
so
this.
I
but see,
can get,
this was because of the pandemic. I'm talking about under regular circumstances. Like I work at a university and we were a hot mess. So to me, you can't use that as an example because with the pandemic, everybody had to pivot in a way that they
that's
never
not
had before.
necessarily true. That is not necessarily true because when it came to my son's school, it was a whole different thing where they got stuff in
Mhm.
order. So that is not necessarily true. Mm-mm.
Yeah, but see, you're using anecdotal evidence.
I,
Now, if you
it's
look
not.
at
No,
the
it's not anecdotal evidence when you. This is stuff that you can like look up online. You
Yeah,
get what
you're
I'm saying?
talking about your son's school. But what I'm
Yeah,
saying is education as a whole, even in higher education, when schools had to pivot to an online education, a lot of them had struggled because, yeah, they didn't have a lot of stuff updated. They
Tia,
didn't have,
struggling is one thing. Having absolutely no information to give you any details is a
Mhm.
whole different ball game.
no, I hear what you're
I
saying.
understand
And we
struggling.
had incidents where we had professors who were MIA on students. And we didn't know until the students complained at the end of the semester when they had to do those reviews. You literally had professors say, here are your assignments, good luck. And we wonder why those kids had failed to the point where we had to make it that first semester was that spring semester. We had to make sure that the students had a pass fail. We didn't even give them a grade. So I hear what you're saying, but what I'm trying to say to you is during the pandemic, whether it was your son's middle school, it was a college, it was whatever, everybody had struggled in some way, shape, or form. Now, that's wonderful that your son's school was up to par. That probably was your son's school. And if you look statistically at that school, they are light years above a lot of schools that are in Essex County or
But
in New Jersey. Or so what I'm saying to you is that wasn't the general consensus. But
but
Right.
but
Yeah, I was just going to back you up on that a little bit, Tia. Like, just because one school was able to get it done, there probably was a handful of schools that were able to really succeed during the pandemic. That doesn't mean that the rest of the schools were able to do the same thing.
it doesn't. But if you're telling me more often not it happens in impoverished areas, then that's a situation where I can see critical race theory is beneficial because it's going to draw out the differences and make people aware of these things and look for that change or look for the resources, to get stuff done. So in a sense like that, I can see where critical race theory being taught is very beneficial to that, to that area, so to speak.
the things that I saw with the critical race theory is just showing how race is embedded in pretty much everything. I didn't see
Okay.
anything about how we could be
Okay.
proactive.
I
Okay,
I
but
have a question for on you for that. Just critical race theory, just what you just said. Do you not believe that race is embedded in everything when you look at statistics? Yeah.
I, I
Well,
mean,
you have to be specific in terms of what.
you
in
can't
in,
lie.
ter- in terms of we could look at any disparity you want to look at. In terms of black people not going succeeding the same, the homes that we just talked about, the disparities in home ownerships,
prison
disparities
sentences,
in
prison,
just coronavirus, COVID. Black people didn't get the vaccine the same as everybody else,
Okay.
and we got sick
So,
more than everybody else. You don't think that racism is the cause of, you don't think that that's like
not the
in
COVID,
everything?
not the COVID. I
not
wouldn't say
I
that.
Not the
won't say
COVID.
COVID, but
I wouldn't blame the COVID.
if you want to use
Why
an
not? Why
example,
wouldn't you blame the COVID?
the reason why I wouldn't blame the reason why I blame the COVID is because remember early in the pandemic when it was a lot of white people and other ethnicities that was getting sick, what was a lot of black people saying?
We
Yo,
Black
it's
can't
people
get
can't
sick.
get it.
like we can't get sick.
Absolutely. And
A
even when
lot
there
of
were
white people
celebrities
looked
that
at it
came
as a
forward,
host and everything like that.
and even when celebrities came forward, basketball players and all that who said, "Oh yeah, I tested positive." A lot of people, Lil Duval was one of the comedians. It was a lot of them who were on Instagram saying, "Oh, they paid them. They didn't really get it. They're just paying them to do this." And then the other thing is also the vaccine has actually been made available to all places to the point where I know in Newark in particular, they were pretty much like, we had people from other counties and even states who are registering and coming to get the vaccinations because the people who lived in those cities weren't doing it. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand why when you look at the history of, people of color in terms of like the Tuskegee,
But isn't wouldn't that mean that you're bringing up the history of racism and Tuskegee and other things, other factors? Wouldn't that mean that racism was at least uh,
Avoid,
a factor in
that's a
why
good
black
point.
people aren't getting the vaccines?
It's a good
no.
point. I get where you're coming from, Deontay,
Because you just,
because
yeah,
those
right,
situations that happen cause distrust in the
Distrust.
black
distrust in the
community.
Yeah.
communities,
So
right?
now when they look at when something happened, it's like fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So
And just to back up your points that you're saying, you had a lot of the companies retract their vaccines. You had Johnson & Johnson retract their vaccine after people started getting worse conditions after taking it.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing. With anything, in a sense, we are pretty much in a trial stage right now. Like, we really won't know if everything is, let's say it's 96% effective with Pfizer and Moderna. We really wouldn't know those things to whole wait until like about another 7 months.
that's
So, in a
true.
sense, we pretty much, everybody, not just people of color, like everybody is still figuring it out in a sense. And it's sad. But even if you look on, if you look on VAERS, I believe it's VAERS, you can look on that website and you can see how many people have statistically been sick, what they've reported. I don't believe there have been any deaths because they try to claim that people had underlying issues,
There have been
associated.
deaths. uh,
No,
You mean deaths caused by the vaccines?
No, some people were trying to say that they had underlying health issues. And unfortunately, because a lot of these, all of the vaccines have been approved for emergency use only, we really don't know what the direct cause of it is. So some may say that no, it is because of the vaccine. And I believe someone even told me a statistic of around maybe like 4,000 people or something like that have passed away from taking the vaccine. But like I said,
It would be way less than that.
but all in all, it still makes the point that since in the past, black people were used as whether it's guinea pigs or tested on or whatever the case may be.
But but
That
but you
still set a narrative of the distrust,
mhm.
which is
And
racial.
you still have to realize, T, all before these companies released it, they tested it in other countries.
no, you're absolutely right. And here's the other thing. Even when they did their trial here in the United States, there were more Caucasian males, and you can look that up. There were more Caucasian males who actually signed up to do the trials than it were.
But so
Um, mhm.
so what about places like Somalia, where you have more black 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 people there, like places
I
like
can only
Somalia
speak
in
of the United
Africa,
States. I'm not
South,
exactly
like
sure
you
of
know what I'm
those.
saying? Like these are places where they have whole facilities where they were doing conducting tests before it was approved.
So, what is your point?
My point exactly is like you can't say that the vaccine didn't cause deaths because it was whole case studies that were released
So, how
where
many people died?
I don't have the exact number on hand because but
So,
I will get
technically,
back
we
That
can't use that.
that I mean, we going way into left field, whatever.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
premise,
that's
the
gonna get the
question,
video
yeah,
flagged.
the premises of the question was, do like did we feel race was a cause of like like the whole coronavirus and the vaccine and everything like that. But like I said, the fact that the way you just broke it down, Deontay, I kind of gotta agree with race play a role with why a lot of black folks distrust it because you're not just going to distrust it out of the blue. Something happened in the past to make black
Right.
people have that distrust.
But here's the thing, with anything, with any, you have to understand whether it's psychological research or it's medical research. There has been mistrust in the government on, like, on with all races. Have you heard of MK Ultra? Have you seen what is it, the Zimbardo prison study? Have you seen the Milgram? Like, there's been so many different studies in the history of the United States that unfortunately fell under the guise of mistrust. And then also, if it wasn't for people being able to get it approved by the IRB, there still would be a lot of illegal and harsh things done to people, inhumane things done to people.
But you
Yes,
could,
So
you're still
mhm.
you're making our point though.
No, but what I'm trying to say is it wasn't just black people. That's what I'm trying to say to
right,
you.
but the same way with Republicans, you could say that there is a reason that Republicans don't trust the vaccines that has nothing to do with race. But
Yeah.
then when we're talking about black people, the reason that black people don't trust the vaccines absolutely has to do with race and absolutely has to do with a racist past.
Why do you feel that? Why do you feel that exactly? I just want to pick your brain.
Just what you said, the experiments, organ harvesting,
Mhm.
the what's the Mount Sinai, the
Yeah.
hospitals where we just call it Mount Sinai, and we just don't trust the government hospitals. They did tests on us. They used us as experiments. uh, didn't pay us when they were medically experimenting on us. It's a whole lot of stuff that happened historically that I know, and a whole lot of black leaders telling people don't trust it because it's the American government and we know what they did to us.
It's just like if I cooked a meal and the meal was terrible, right? And then a few months or a few weeks down the line, I'm like, yo, come to my house for Thanksgiving. I'm cooking. You're gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna eat. I'll come there and chill, but I'm gonna
Right,
make sure I eat before I come there because the last time I had your cooking, you set me up.
right,
You get
But
what I'm
let me
saying?
ask you this though. So if we see that the black community has been disproportionately affected by the pandemic, we see that less of that population is getting the vaccine. What is the alternative then?
well, I mean, that's why as a black man and as a person who is aware of the what American did, it's important for people like me and people like you all to spread trust for the vaccines or to do your research and find out that if the vaccine indeed is safe. And a lot of black people have saw that the vaccine was safe. They took it. They were the experiment. Like me, I was the experiment, and I'm spreading the awareness that it is safe. I did take it, and I'm still here talking to y'all.
Like Matumbo said, no, no, no.
Now, see, I
Yeah,
took my first shot. I take my second one this coming Monday, actually. And I'll be honest with you, I only took it because my job mandated it. But at the same time, when I see all these articles of people who spoke so, they were so boisterous about, oh, I'm not getting the vaccine. And then you see them catch COVID because a lot of them are catching the new Delta strain.
Right,
And, they're barely breathing. Like, I've seen people who were adamant on Facebook, like even today, someone I posted something like, I'm telling you right now, COVID is real. Get that vaccine, because he
right,
had it and he lost 50% of his oxygen. And keep in mind, this gentleman is like in his early 30s. You know what I mean? And it's like, fit. I don't know if he has underlying health issues, but, it's one of those things where it's like, again, I understand. I'm not trying to be ignorant to the history. I understand why people of color don't want to get the vaccine. But what I'm saying is we also need to educate our community and let them know, like you said, Deontay, you got it. I'm partially vaccinated, to let them know, hey, you can get this done. I got it done. We're in this together, because, there's so many different strains that are out here.
see,
right,
see, here's my thing. My thing is this: the vaccine was basically designed for emergency use. It wasn't made to be a mass to the population. So that's number one. Before I take the vaccine, I want that 6, 7 months of making sure that everything, like 6 to 7 more additional months to go by. Because let's be real, although they're saying that, hey, take it, whatever, it's safe, blah, 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 you're still seeing little nicks and hiccups happen there. Now, I'm not saying that it happens to everybody, whatever, but what is wrong with being thorough and making sure, hey, I want to make sure that, okay, I'm okay now, but who's to know what's going to happen 3, 4 years down the line with what I'm putting into my body?
No, you're absolutely right. But then the
That's
other
my approach
issue,
in it. But so it's just a matter of, guess what? That means that I'm willing to take the risk if I do catch the virus. Hopefully, I'm asymptomatic or I fight through it or whatever the case may be. But that's the risk I'm willing to take. You get what I'm saying? So that's where I stand on it. Like I said, for me, I'd rather wait till they clear it from emergency use to put it into the population by the FDA that, yes, this thing is safe to be used. That's all I'm saying for me. What y'all take? Because I know all of
all,
y'all pretty
all
much, all of y'all got the needle.
I mean, yeah, I mean, all three of us got the vaccine, so it's
Mhm.
like
Right.
we
yeah,
all know.
I didn't grow my second head yet, so.
So you know what that means? Your boy is undefeated.
I
No, no,
mean,
no, because we got the Delta and the Lambda and the Omega and all the other ones flying around. So don't speak too fast.
Look, I ain't gonna be like that pastor who was saying, Corona can't stop me. Let God, whatever. And
He was like, I walk with God. If God want to take me, he can take me.
yeah, but all right. So yeah. So again, I know like everybody had their thoughts on it, whatever. But I guess it's a yes or no question or whatever. Do you feel like critical race theory should be taught in school, or should more awareness of critical race theory be, left abroad? Like, what is your take on it? I'll ask you, Ray, first.
Like I said, I believe it should be taught at a certain grade level, high school level, 9 to 12.
Okay.
And I feel it should be taught professionally to a point where you understand it as a whole, not as a means to deter you because of your skin color or your ethnicity, but as a means to just bring awareness to your surroundings.
Now let me ask you this: do you care about how the white counterpart take it or perceive it?
Not really. I'm gonna
Okay.
be very honest with you. Not really, because regardless how, even if it's taught to you, right?
Hmm.
Even if it's taught to you, let's say you're in the 12th grade, it's taught to you, whatever. You get out into the real world. No matter who you are, where you are, you always got to check off a box. That's a fact that we can all agree on, right?
Okay.
Yeah, you know about that box. It's got your race on it, so you know it's not going to matter how they feel at the end of the day because the system is already set up to diversify us. No
All right.
matter even when you go to a job application, on job application, they have African American, they have Latino. If you're Native American, certain whatever you check off, you know, that kind of predetermines you just a bit on certain things.
See, I can kind of agree with you there because if it shouldn't matter what your race is, that shouldn't even be on the application if that's the case.
Right, right, but
Well, a
Just
lot of applications have advanced, so you can even check off prefer not to say, just like they've extended gender. So you can, they'll say male, female, non-binary. There's so many different
well,
terms. So,
for certain places and certain things, yes, but a majority of job applications, no. A majority of school scholarships, no. A majority of government grants, no. Even certain banks you go in and you open in a bank account or whatever, they have to mark it down the system. That's something people don't know.
mm, all right.
I mean, I
So
think it depends in terms of the scholarships because, I mean, this is just my take and the things that I've
So,
seen.
so you don't feel that if prime example, right? Let's say you went to go apply for a scholarship.
Hmm.
You're African American. You check African American on it. You don't feel that a Native American person would have more of a chance of getting it than you if they
No,
were to apply for the same?
it depends on the scholarship. And
Mm.
the reason why I say that is because in my research, because not only am I, in higher ed, but also, trying to buy a house. And in a lot of grants that I've been looking at, a lot of them, if not most of them, have been designed for people who are either single parents, predominantly single mothers, or what's the other one? They have to make under a certain income because a lot of them work with HUD. Recently, my job did a workshop with Secretary Fudge, and she's doing a lot of things with HUD. So that way, people of color, single parents, people who don't make that much money, they're able to not only buy a home, but also able to sustain it. Because I don't know if you're aware, but statistically, the same percentage of Black people own a home now as they did in the 1960s, which is a problem. So I hear what you're saying, but because I'm actively trying to get a house and, I help my students with scholarships and everything,
Mm.
they are catered to people of color. Now, you do have your merit scholarships where, yes, we assume it's for our counterparts. We assume it's for a certain demographic of students. But I can tell you firsthand, a lot of stuff that I've been seeing, especially with home ownership, if you make under 59,999, you are able to get a home. And even now, Secretary Fudge made something where if you are low income and you have high student debt, you can still own a home. So I hear what you're saying, but in my research, that's not what I'm seeing.
Okay, that's a fair point. That's a fair point.
All right. So what is your take, Tia? Do you feel like critical race theory should be in schools, or do you think it's the awareness of it should be made abroad?
I believe that we should focus on multicultural education in K through 12 so we can empower our black and brown students as opposed to make them feel oppressed and tell them why they're oppressed. I do believe that critical race theory should be dissected into post-secondary education.
Okay. And Deontay, what is your take on it?
Um,
What do you think?
Pretty much the same thing. Critical race theory, like I said before, it depends on what you take critical race theory to mean. If you're talking about white privilege and whiteness studies and or blackness studies or anything like that, that does not need to be taught in school. If you're talking about as far as uh, how how laws in the past, how the past has affected the present, which is critical race theory. That should be taught again, K through kindergarten, younger ages. They're not going to be able to understand that or follow that. But once you get into high school, you should be able to know a little bit, at least have introductory courses on that. And as far as just race in general, less kindergarten, younger children, they should be able to learn about, like Tia said, multicultural, multiculturality, diversity training, you know, how to treat each other, stuff like that. Just basic stuff, how to treat each other, humanity, diversity, whatever you call it. Just be a good person.
I can dig it. Yeah, man. Like I personally feel I feel it has a role in society or whatever, because of the simple fact it can enlighten people on. It can basically enlighten them on ways to be educated on certain things as far as like whether it's their career or real estate or things of that nature. It can help open their eyes towards different things on pretty much a cause and effect on why they can like they feel like certain things they do get stagnated or can be flagged as racism, whatever, because at the end of the day the system wasn't built for us. You get what I'm saying? It wasn't built for black people intended or whatever. So I definitely feel the education should be there in that aspect so people can know pretty much how to level up and fight against whatever these narratives are. But at the same time, I see it should be done strategically. As far as the whole race and white privilege thing or whatever, me, I really don't like, I'm sorry to say, but I don't feel like that should be a concern as far as the teaching policy goes because I see it as blacks, it's no problem speaking about our wretchedness and all of this stuff. But when it comes to speaking about, you know, the foundation of how the nation was built, which is America, all of that want to be swept under the rug. So I don't have no pity or no self concern as far as that go. Most would probably say it's tick for tack or whatever, but it is what it is because we are being painted in a negative light, no matter how you slice it, whatever. So if it comes at the expense of painting other people at a negative light, then it is what it is. So
I
yeah.
just I just wanted to say one thing. Just going back to Tia's comment with her research and everything. Did
Hmm.
you know that the Mortgage Disclosure Act records was released earlier this year, and it showed that 30 million records were 30 million people who had applied for house loans were denied simply based on their color. And this was a whole investigation done.
Yeah, but you said grants,
Well,
not home loan applications.
well, grants, loans. I said along the lines. So you have to understand. You
But
know.
it's not the same thing. So what I'm saying is the grants that are going to assist you with getting the home, with the scholarships that are going to assist you
Mm,
with going to college, those are the things that I'm referring to. Because if that's the case, if you look at college applications in general and say, oh yeah, well, if you look at whatever. I'm just hypothetically speaking, let's say whatever Ivy League school, and you're like, oh, well, they had X amount of people apply from this race as opposed to, the Caucasian community. Absolutely, you could say that. But how many of them actually apply for the scholarships? How many of them, had programs to assist them to get in? There are many different TRIO programs that are purposely formed to help people of color get into college. I used to work with one of them, the Educational Opportunity Fund program. And, with that one, it pretty much and I don't want to go into the history. I don't know how much time we have, but it's geared towards helping first generation low
okay.
income students from underrepresented communities. And it's to put them in. Now, granted, it's not in all states. It's in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and even select states in California. But there are other programs out there in other states. They may be called other things. I was in the Student Support Services TRIO program when I was in undergrad. So there are many different programs out there to assist the students. And again, goes back to what I was saying about these high schools. We need to do more to get the public education school system up to par to make sure that our students are prepared by the time they graduate. So if that means that by the time you graduate from high school, you not only have a trade under your belt, but you also have enough credits where you could transfer into a college and be at junior status. That's what we need to do. Or maybe they're graduating with a high school diploma and associate's degree. Those are things that we need to start talking about. So I hear what you're saying. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't talk about race and we should sweep it under the rug. I'm not naive. But what I'm saying is we need to do more to empower our young people. So that way, not only are they graduating high school, but they have more of a chance to compete. That's all I'm saying.
No,
Okay.
I get it because, and again, I'm not saying, hey, talk about race, whatever. Race will always be a subject of topic, whatever. But I feel to limit the talk about race, so to speak, but just keep it on the cause and effect of, hey, this is why you may get a lower estimate on the value of your home. Things like that, like the cause and effect of why theoretically this is the cause of said action, so to speak. So that I can agree with whatever because it seemed like when the propaganda is basically bringing up race as a means to divide the country in itself, where, like I said, things that are not race related are being talked up to or led to believe that it's race related. So
Absolutely. And here's the other thing too that I want to say, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to ruffle some feathers. We need to take accountability in the Black community of the things that are going on. And I'm sorry, I'm not one of those people that's just going to sit around and say, well, you know what, I'm oppressed and it's because, the white man isn't able to. No, I want to take accountability with my situation in order to not only empower myself, but the young man that I'm raising. And, even with the students, that I counsel, I want to make sure that we understand what resources are out there for us. And I'm not naive. I understand everyone doesn't know what I know, which is why we need people like us, like Deontay said, to go into these communities, go into these high schools, talk to them, and not just talk at them, but actually sit them down and say, okay, hey, set up an appointment with me, or hey, I'm gonna come in on this day. And if you want to learn about scholarships, you want to learn about financial aid, you want to learn about, how to start your own business, let's talk about it. We need to get some type of economics, financial literacy into these high schools. So that way, like you said, Ray, how many people know about certain things? Okay, we don't know it. That's because we need to put it into the school system. Even if we can't get it in the curriculum, there's no reason why we can't start a nonprofit and say, hey, this is what we're doing. Go to the high schools. Don't wait for them to come to us. Let's be proactive and say, hey, get a group of parents together, whether your kids go to that school or not, and just say, hey, this is what we're going to do every Saturday morning or every day after school.
And here's the thing too. Even though, like, yes, it's good to speak about critical race theory and everything like that, but technically that should start at home and what you educate your children with. So if you have the knowledge or the benefit, like the knowledge and everything of teaching your children, the histories and things of that nature, then you definitely should, because it's gonna definitely be a service to that child. And like that's one thing I respect that my boy Santana say. He always say like, "Yo, people in the black community do like white people do, because white people they take the time to educate the kids, stuff
Mhm.
like that. When it comes to change, they taking it to city hall. They doing all the things that they deem necessary for whatever it is the fight that they have or the plight they trying to get through, whatever it is, they're willing to fight for it and band together. And that's something I feel that we definitely should take a page out of their book and level up like that, so to speak.
That's how
Absolutely. I
that's
feel
how
like
we ended up with 25 years for killing a dog. It's real shit.
What you mean 25 years for killing a dog?
That's how we ended up with that.
Wow. Yeah, with the law they put. Yeah,
Yeah, it was
I
it
hear what
was it
you're
was
saying.
because the whole white movement, because this one guy killed his dog. Whole white
Mm,
movement.
and they
yeah, but
band
you just
together.
you just made the point. It was a movement.
No,
How many.
no, he's saying that's why they did, because they know how to band together.
Mhm.
That's what
Absolutely.
he's saying. You get what I'm saying? So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Mm.
I
We
agree with
definitely
that
need to band
100%.
together.
But yeah. All right, so I guess that's gonna sum it up for this episode or whatever. If anybody need, I saw some of the messages in the saw some of the
Oh,
messages in the comment section. Did any message stand out to you guys that y'all wanted to address, or
I just want to ask Tia something. Do your students use the College Success Centers programs?
What do you mean the college success centers
So the
programs?
College Success
Online?
No, the College Success programs was implemented in all the states actually. Matter of fact, do you know? I think his name's Aaron McGrudy, the guy that created the Boondocks.
Mm-hmm.
He's head of the College Success program. Um,
No.
yeah, it's a whole program that teaches high school kids how to deviate from high school into college life, how to get them ready. It even helps them apply for scholarships.
Well, I work at a college, so no, we wouldn't. You
Okay.
said that's more so geared towards high school students, right?
Well, yeah, high school and college students. I mean, they help college students as well. There's actually, if you go to Rutgers 110 Warren Street on the first floor and you ask for Miss Cleveland Berryman, she runs one of the college success centers there in North.
Mm-hmm.
So if you reach out to her, you know, or if any
Absolutely.
if any parents out here who got their kids ready to go to college and they live in Newark, or even if you're other areas in New Jersey, you can always reach out to her. The
Okay.
program's there to help them.
I can definitely do that because I want to start a nonprofit after I get my degree. And I know some people say you should do that now, but I want to accomplish one thing first before I do the other.
No, ain't nothing wrong with getting a degree. That's the way to do it.
Exactly. But no, you're absolutely right. And that's the only thing that, I want for our community. I want us to do better, be better. So that way, we can have better in our communities. So again, right, I hear where you're coming from. I don't want you to think that, I had to dispute every single thing that you said. It's
Nah, I
just,
like our back and forths.
okay? So Nene said I homeschooled because my local high school didn't offer AP classes, which is against state law. I calculated that homeschooling would be cheaper than a lawsuit.
Wait. What state you live in? That's my question. Because that's weird to me. I've never heard of a state law that prevented AP classes. Have you? Any of you guys?
No,
I,
she's
I
saying that it's against the state law for them not to offer it.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
but don't so well. Do every school have like Deontay in your area? Do the schools have AP classes?
Yeah, we have AP classes.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm about to say that's a requirement for all major high schools.
Right. That's what she said, that the school is breaking state law by not offering it.
wow, yeah, I would definitely look into
Man, girl, I would get that
trying to
lawyer.
definitely get that lawyer and try and
You know what I'm
I mean,
saying?
but it's still gonna be expensive and challenging to beat the school. And that's what she said. It's going. I mean, but that's another thing.
I
You
mean,
have to do it, because if you don't do it, nobody else
nobody
will, and
else
that
will,
yeah,
school is going to
exactly.
continue not to have AP classes, and it's going to continue to be a problem in that school district.
And
And
you know,
that's what we were talking about a little bit yesterday, with the
uh,
last one.
yeah,
If the parents just say we're going to pick up and leave, sure, that parent can be successful. Yeah, they could take their kid out of that situation. But if you don't fix the situation, you're going to have a whole bunch of other students still in that situation and not succeeding.
that's true. I agree.
mhm.
All right, and that's another thing too. Like, yeah, we as a community, we definitely need to step up when we see like discrepancies and stuff like that. Take action and fight for that change. Not just like look for alternative. Like I granted, look for the alternative. Yes, which you did for the homeschooling, but I would
Hmm.
definitely say like try and band together with other parents to be like, yo, let's take this fight. So they can to make it better for the future generations because
Or
that's what the Martin Luther Kings, that's what they did.
or just or look, or you can even
Off
write
the back.
a simple letter or email to the school board. That's all you
Yeah,
have to do.
definitely. But if you get a band of people to group together, it's a much stronger statement where you can't be denied.
Hmm.
All right. So we have the niece said
Denise,
CRT in its simplest form identifies the oppressing oppressor. This don't mean that kids on either side has to internalize this label, but learn what it that it exists and how to over
how
perpetuate it.
how
How
to
to
avoid.
avoid.
Avoid, sorry, wow, avoid perpetuating it. My
You need
bad.
your reading glasses today.
No, you see how little this laptop screen is. Then when I have the comments like loaded up, it makes it that much smaller. So it's
Oh
like I'm
man,
working with like a nice little.
I
I
think
feel
it's
like
just your laptop, bro. Because
I feel like I need to put bifocals on or whatever, and I can make it full screen, but then half of the damn comment is covered
comments.
off because I'm seeing.
uh,
Oh, there we go. Okay, so after a while it disappears.
All
All right,
right,
so I.
so I'm uh I'm gonna have to disagree with this statement. Um, I don't think that CRT identifies the oppressed or the oppressor. It can help you identify certain problems within the system or within society, whether it be problems within the black community or the white community or whatever community you're looking into. But and as far as helping you not perpetuate it, yes, it does help you not perpetuate it. I just don't agree that it identifies the oppressed and oppressor. It
Yeah,
just identifies the social system, and it helps you look at how the system is work, how it works, and how you could avoid, like you said, perpetuating it. But that's
yeah,
it.
I
I
agree
agree.
with what Denise is saying because of, like I was saying earlier about, the teachers being equipped enough to teach it. So the issue has been that a lot of the teachers have been teaching it in the way that Denise is posing the question. So I hear what you're saying, Deontay, like what it's supposed to be, but unfortunately, you have teachers who are teaching it that way, and most often than not, the oppressed are always the Black students.
But see that I get that, but that's misinformation at that point.
Absolutely, which is why I said they're ill-equipped to teach it.
Yeah, it's misinformation. So granted, that's how she perceived it. That's not really what it is because she was fed misinformation about said topic. So that's why Deontay is saying he feels, it's not it doesn't identify the oppressed or the oppressor or whatever.
And that's the problem. They need proper training before they can teach it. Whether it's K through 12, high school, they all need proper training. And they're not getting that. It's like here you go, teach it.
All right. So Nene said that Denise. One, that's fair. That's a fair argument. I will go one step further. It's easy and fun to teach kids game theory or debate, rhetoric, etc. you you want to tackle that one?
No, I think it's sarcasm. Kids, game theory, or debate rhetoric. I
Yeah,
don't think it's easy to teach kids rhetoric or debate or any of that.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think it's sarcasm. I'm not sure.
All right. But yeah, man. Definitely, man. That's CRT definitely is a hot topic, man. Because everybody have so much, different, pretty much different, depending on the way they was taught it.
Rhetoric.
Have a different perceptive per, perception
Perspective.
perception on it. So,
Hmm.
I hope this answered questions for you, the viewers, or whatever. This was definitely engaging. I definitely learned a lot because, like I told you guys, I mean, I know a little something about critical race theory, but not in depth. But this definitely taught me a lot. This definitely taught me a lot and opened my eyes on a lot of things.
I
So,
just wanted to bring up something that Nene just posted, and she said I teach kids robotics and programming, and it is easier. So I think even her comment before that, I don't think it was sarcasm. I think that she was really saying what it
Yes.
was.
What it-
So if you do look at, even in my educational research, it is easier to teach kids when you use gamification, you use game theory, whether it's project based or personalized based learning. Like you have to pretty much meet them where they are and teach them the subject. And unfortunately, you don't have teachers that are trained to do that or who want to do that. So that's
Uh,
a really good point, Nene.
I'm proud of you, Nene. I'm proud of you. You're teaching the
yeah,
best program. As a nerd, low key, I'm proud of you.
definitely, definitely.
Especially since you trained international champions.
Yeah.
Yes.
The children are the future.
Absolutely. We had to. So I wanted to ask a question. I'm sorry, I know we're running out of time.
No,
But
that's
how do
good.
you all feel about, because it kind of sort of is related to the topic. How do you feel about Mark Lamont Hill's comment about white people being inherently racist?
That's. I think I
Look,
did a video on that too. Uh
I
that line of thought is completely wrong. It's illogical. People say all white when people say all white people are racist, or when people say black people can't be racist. I looked into a lot of arguments like that. It's not logical,
Hmm.
and yeah,
yeah,
I couldn't tell you.
it's really not, and I can't agree with it either. I can't. Matter of fact, if you ever listen to Lil Wayne's life story interview where he talks about Uncle Bob,
Hmm.
Uncle
Yeah.
Bob was a white police officer. With Lil Wayne, when he was younger, he was in the house. It was in the house with a bunch of drugs or whatever, and police did a raid. He got shot right here in the chest, and he still got the bullet in the chest or whatever. All the police officers that were black were hopping over his body trying to get to the drugs and the money. And when only the white police officer, he called him Uncle Bob, stepped in and saved his life.
Hmm.
You know what
Yeah.
Lil Wayne said? He said, I don't believe in racism, but I do believe in a man called Uncle Bob.
Mm.
And I don't believe that every white person is inherently racist. Like I,
Mm.
Mhm.
I, I don't I don't believe that. I don't believe that whatsoever. Not every white person is inherently racist. So, I mean, I'm not.
And what they say is that because white people because racism benefits white people, that's what makes them inherently racist. But that's still not logical because benefiting from something doesn't make you
A racist.
perpetuate. Right? It doesn't mean that you're doing something to increase your benefits, or that you're purposely or intentionally or even accidentally, you know, causing a issue. You're not doing anything just by benefiting.
The only thing I will say is, yes, I agree. All white people inherently benefit from white privilege, but not they're inherently racist.
Mhm.
And when he means benefit from white privilege, it doesn't mean that they do it intentionally.
Yes, exactly.
He
It
mean
just so happens, for
right.
instance, like I'm gonna go back to the house thing. Just so happens, since you're white, you go to sell your house, you're gonna get the maximum appraisal for it. That's not something that you went to look and seek. No, just so happens, since you're white, you benefit from it. So that's
Mhm.
what I mean by inherently benefit from white privilege. And that's the thing. I guess that's the misconception. White people think when black people bring up white privilege, they think that they're looking at it as every white person is looking to benefit or use the system to their advantage. And that's not the case at all. So,
Hey,
Exactly.
yeah.
Hodgkin, the Hodgkin twins got the white privilege card. You could get it.
Yeah, yeah.
I wish I was
we,
white. I'll go grab me
we,
one of them.
you know what? We did a video on that that's going to be on JR's channel. So,
Oh yeah.
talking about white privilege and everything like that in the white privilege card that they sent on Amazon. Brother, did you read the description for that white privilege card?
Nah.
Yeah,
Oh
that
my
description was
gosh,
terrible, man. It
that
was terrible.
description, yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. It's serious, man. It's serious. So, but yeah, like I said, just I think whoever made the card, I'm sorry, I wouldn't say they was racist, but they definitely was trying to capitalize on race itself.
Right.
So, but yeah, let me see. What's this? Some whites are still trying to fight the civil right, I guess. Trying to fight the civil right war, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I could agree with that. Like, see, I will look at like I know a lot of people, like a lot of whites who fight for the Confederate flag. They're mainly fighting it for the heritage of the South. But to black people, it comes off as that heritage to us is slavery,
Right.
a time that was bad, that was we was heavily oppressed and everything like that. You get what I'm saying? It's like nobody in their right or left mind will think about glorifying a swastika.
Mhm.
You get
Hmm.
what I'm saying? That's part of Germany's history. But
Mhm.
nobody in their right or left mind is gonna be like, yes, let's glorify a swastika. So I understand where they're coming from, where they're like, oh, that was our heritage from the original 13, well, the original whatever amount of states in the South, whatever the heritage of the South. But look what comes with that.
Right.
And it's funny. I saw, I made a video about it where the white guy was arguing with the black guy, talking about this flag is about our heritage, whatever. We had to have farms and everything, yada yada, for my grandparents. So the black guy was like, yeah, and who was working on them farms? So then his rebuttal was, yeah, do you know how expensive it was to buy a slave or whatever? Like, if that's not the most terrible argument I heard in my life, like,
Hmm.
yo, do you know how much you cost? Like, so yeah, like it just tells you the ideals of it is so different. It's so different. It's ridiculous or whatever. But yes, I agree. Some whites are still trying to fight the civil rights war. Definitely. So. But yeah, all right. I guess that's gonna be it or whatever. Tia, I thank you for being on the show. Definitely, Beyonce, I thank you for also being on the show as well. Again, you can tell everybody about your channel and everything like that, and
Yep.
definitely subscribe to his channel.
Definitely subscribe. Check me out. Talk Etic. Talk Etic.
He had to
You
say it
know.
with the chest.
Literally.
Oops.
Subscribe to my channel and check me out. I give a lot of good talking concepts. I do want to have more discussions like this with other people been hitting me up trying to get on some debates or discussions or whatever. So that's coming up, and definitely
Mhm.
just hear some opinions. That's it.
Yep.
Thank you.
I agree. I agree. Those who are watching, don't forget to hit that like button, share it amongst your friends, and if you're not subscribed, definitely hit the subscribe button. That's gonna do it for this Friday night live. Now you guys can get back to your clubbing or whatever it is that y'all got to do. We appreciate you for being here with us, and we will definitely catch everybody on the next one. Enjoy
All
your
right.
Friday night and your weekend.
Peace.
Later, everybody.
Peace.
Peace.
What time is it? I woke up, soaked from a bad dream. I've been sweating like crazy. Got up, skin stuck to the bed sheets. Open window for a cold breeze. I have nothing to eat in my kitchen. Old coffee and yesterday's pizza. Listen, I promised to clean my floor, but I have no interest to fulfill my chores today. As long as the sun is shining and the weather is showing its face, just like me, it's been hiding. People painting the world with its rings, so I skip on my obligations. Like so many times before, reach for the door out to reclaim my faith in the making.